Hello and welcome back to the capsule. Hope everyone had a good week. Just gonna jump straight in and touch on some of the week's topics. If you aren't already, follow and check out the capsule.ldn on Instagram. So, good week for break-in the UK or out of the UK by UK people this week. Karam announced that he was sponsored by Nike, first of all, which is dope. He's the first UK b-boy to be sponsored by Nike. Clara and Kimberly J were both sponsored by Nike a few years ago. It was quite a while ago now. I don't remember the exact year. But they were both under the Nike athlete sponsorship program, I guess. They did some work for Nike and kind of there was a period where they were doing quite a lot of events and things on behalf of them. People that were kind of around in those days would remember that. It's been a while since Nike, I don't even know how is the proper pronunciation of it, but it's been a while since they've been in the dance scene. I feel like maybe they withdrew for a while. I don't know exactly, but in terms of their presence being felt around the dance scene, we haven't. Obviously, Red Bull have been the main people who have been the kind of big company in air quotes within dance. And yeah, so it's interesting seeing this announcement because I wonder if that means that they're kind of making a return to working within the dance scene. I wonder if there's more things coming beyond just this. I think it makes sense because obviously the Olympics are coming up. From what I know of, like the corporate world, like the few years, I think 3 or 4 years until the Olympics now, that's like pretty soon in terms of corporate world stuff. So they're probably getting the cogs moving in terms of what they're going to have set up for that time now. So yes, I can imagine this being one of a few things that start to happen. Or maybe it's like a tester and we see how things go with Karam being the sponsor. And then maybe post-Olympics, they start to introduce some more stuff depending on how much marketing this gives Nike. Oftentimes with these companies sponsoring people at stuff like the Olympics, it's not always that they want to invest in the scene. So I think the temptation is to think, oh, because Karam's sponsored, we're all going to get sponsored and there's going to be all sorts of Nike events and stuff happening. It's not always the case because sometimes what it can be is that, especially with companies like Nike and Adidas and stuff, it's just showing dominance at these type of events or something like that. So in a way it can be that Nike sponsor people where not each one individually like makes them back the marketing dollars that they put into that person or whatever, but it can be that just the fact that at the Olympics, let's say, anywhere you look you see Nike, even if that's at the rowing or the darts or the break-in or whatever, it just shows their dominance that they're everywhere. So even by them kind of sponsoring like smaller athletes, it can kind of create this overall dominance. So with Karam being one of our Olympic hopefuls, and obviously Sunni being with Red Bull, I don't know what the deal is with Sunni being able to be approached by Nike while he's on the Red Bull contract. I would imagine he's not allowed to. It depends what they consider their competitors, I think, because Red Bull obviously is a energy drink company, whereas Nike is more sportswear, trainers, apparel, that type of stuff. So it could be that they don't consider each other competitors, although I'd be surprised if that was the case. I reckon it's probably somewhere in the contract that Sunni wouldn't be able to be sponsored by Nike, but who knows? What do I know? But yeah, I mean, it's like we already start to see these sort of things where Sunni's being backed by Red Bull and sponsored by them, and he's on contract with them. Karam announced his sponsorship. He hasn't announced obviously any details. I'm hoping to get him on the pod at some point to talk about it, but or what he's allowed to talk about. But I don't know that he's been contracted by Nike in the same way that Sunni has. He says he's been sponsored as a UK athlete, so that could mean anything from like free clothes all the way up until like travel expenses, like all the, like it depends what the sponsorship deal is. Sponsorship means different things, but it's not necessarily like a contract to be a Nike b-boy in the same way that Sunni is a Red Bull b-boy. Again, pure speculation, so I haven't spoken to either of them about the specifics of their contracts, nor do I have any contacts with Red Bull or Nike for that sort of thing. Yeah, so just be interesting to see what comes next, if Nike are planning a bit more of a investment into the scene, or if they're just kind of going to look at the Olympic hopefuls, and if it even is about the Olympics. I'm making an assumption that this is a build towards the Olympics, because I think we're going to start seeing more things like that. But it might not be. It might just be that it's coincided, or maybe it's like been a catalyst for them to reinvest into the dance scene, because now the Olympics are going to bring more attention, especially in the breaking scene. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I don't know if they're going to put on events or do anything. I wonder if they're going to try to compete with Red Bull for the dance scene's attention, or if it's going to be something they move differently, in a way, to put it simply, so that they don't cross paths, or if they're just going to go for it and just try and both do the same sort of things in the dance scene, and just maybe we'll have like a Nike event that's the same size as BC1. Probably not, but be interesting to see what their strategy looks like, and I think that will kind of become apparent over the next few years. Again, like I said, it may just be the thing that they want anyone that's potentially going to be at the Olympics to be already sponsored by Nike, or whatever else Karam does between now and the Olympics, so that they can just show dominance everywhere in terms of like anyone wears Nike, and that's sometimes their strategy. Yeah, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think it's dope for Karam, like sick. I think he deserves it. You know, he's a dope guy and he works hard, and yeah, I mean he's kind of speaks for himself. It's like saying Michael Jackson's a good singer, you know. He's doing great and he's killing it. So yeah, of course him and Sunni will be the first ones to be approached by this sort of thing. I think we have a lot of other potential people that will follow them. Again, it just depends on the plan of these companies. Yeah, I think it's probably going to bring him more opportunities and stuff like that. And I think as much as Nike may not invest in the scene and put on events and all this sort of thing, it will be the start of things like this to come. So even if it's not a big company like Nike, it might be smaller companies, but there will be more interest in the dance scene, especially as we come up to the Olympics. And depending on how big of a splash the Olympics makes, it will continue afterwards. But yeah, I think it's something to keep an eye on and to kind of prepare yourself for, if you're a high level competitive dancer, or if you have any sort of organization or anything like that, you know, these companies are going to come and start looking for what they can do and what they can get out of the scene, and we should kind of just keep our wits about us and have conversations with each other and make sure that it's like, hey, you know, this company approached me, like this is what they're saying. So like, especially if you think that, you know, you don't agree with what's being offered, which sometimes happens when people are trying to do business, and you can kind of, you know, we should give each other a heads up and, you know, keep an eye out for each other in the dance scene and be like, you know, I'm not gonna let them, if you're not happy with the thing, you can't let them just go to the next person and ask them, you know what I mean, without kind of like warning them, say, hey, like maybe you shouldn't say yes to this. Or the reverse is, you know, maybe they come with a great offer, maybe it's something that you can't do or that you have to pass up, but like pass it on to the next person that you think is worthy, and regardless of who you like or who you're friends with, try to like zoom out a bit and think of the bigger picture and think like, all right, who's the next person that deserves this opportunity and is going to represent our scene well, and that sort of thing. So that would be my message in the lead up to the Olympics, where I'm assuming and predicting that there's going to be a bit more interest, just kind of as much as they're going to look out for their interests, which is what a business is supposed to do. We should look out for our interests as a scene, you know, and think kind of long term. But yeah, so anyway, massive shout out to Karam. Dope news. It's a dope brand, so it'd be cool to see where that takes him and what he gets to do with that kind of affiliation and connection. So yeah, shout out to him. Speaking of Sunni, he just came back from an injury on his knee. I don't know exactly what he did, but he had surgery and then obviously was in recovery after that. I know he had a bit of help from Red Bull in the sense of I think he was doing some recovery of physio there. I could be way off with that, so don't ask me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw that he was doing some work with their trainers and stuff. He may have even spoke about it on the podcast and I've forgotten. But yeah, so he first jammed back, he won Nordic Break League, and then I guess flew that night or in the morning to where did he fly to? Somewhere else, and won another jam. Oh, he flew to Switzerland. I'm assuming he flew, and won another 2-on-2 jam. So the first one was with Menno, and the second one is with a guy called Phil Wizard. That's pretty dope. First jam back from injury. I think the thing is yes, it's dope to do 2 competitions and win 2 things in the same weekend. That's sick. And as a fan of competitive dance and breaking, that's sick to see. You know, it's like, you know, when people win championships in the NBA or something, like seeing people win like that is sick. But I think as a dancer, I'm more focused on the fact that, you know, it's dope that he's back to health, you know, because shit like that, you know, can end people's career, especially as an athlete, and especially as someone that it's not like popping that you can kind of maybe work around it, or hip hop or something where you can work around it. It's like breaking is like you got to be physically healthy, and to be injured enough to warrant surgery, and then to come back and have your first jam 2 weeks before BC1 World Finals, where you're an invite, to come back and be able to fuck winning, like being able to do as many rounds as it requires to get to a finals twice in 2 different countries is sick. And it shows, you know, hopefully he's not hurting too much after that weekend, and he, you know, the knee's holding up, but it's not to be underestimated how physically taxing that is if you have never done it. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's positive. If he's, you know, not in too much pain or anything, is probably positive news for BC1, showing that he's kind of back to health, because it's one thing training, but when you're in a competition, you know, you really see how your body holds up. So him being able to do that and hopefully feeling okay means that he's probably good to like push himself even harder for training and competing in BC1. So I'm sure he's been training up to now. This was just his first competition back, but yeah, this next 2 weeks will probably be like a new push, I would say. I have no idea how Sunni trains. I'm just talking from my experience. Like, having done this, having kind of realized, right, my body's good. It's like, right, now let's push hard for the next 2 weeks before BC1. And he'll probably be going to go full out. Like, I don't think he's coming to fuck around anymore. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Sunni does. You know, even if he doesn't win or whatever, like, I'm happy that he's healthy enough to be able to do that, and the injury didn't you know, fuck him up too much, because it can. So another shout out to Sunni for the wins, for being healthy, and good luck towards BC1. A couple of events that happened this weekend. It was a bit of a party weekend, actually. There wasn't really any battles that I can think of. Forgive me if there was some that I'm unaware of, but I think maybe if they were like smaller ones outside of the country. I think in London, or outside of the city, in London, there was Dancers Delight on Friday night, and then an event called The Bridge on Saturday daytime. Both very like party-esque events. Dancers Delight, I actually had a fucking great time. I was very drunk on Friday night. I enjoyed the performances and the event a lot, actually. I think Dancers Delight is something that I think this is like my motto with everything with life, but like you have to know what you're getting yourself into. You know, if you go to anything expecting the wrong thing, you're going to come out disappointed, right? If you know what you're expecting and you choose to go with that expectation in mind, or the understanding of what the event is in mind, most times you're going to have a good time, or you're not going to go because you don't want to go for what the thing is, right? So I think the things that I could maybe, if I was going to critique Dancers Delight or criticize, it would be stuff that the event isn't, if that makes sense. So like if, you know, it's all standing and it's a big long room and there's no seats and stuff, but it's like, yeah, Dancers Delight isn't a sit down and like consider like, yes, well, the artistic merit of this piece was fantastic. You know, it's like you got a drink in your hand, you're talking to people, you watch a performance, you wander around, you dance a bit, like it's that sort of vibe. So if you're going expecting it, like, you know, to sit down like you would watch when you're watching a piece of Sadler's or something, that's not what you go there for, you know. Same with the pieces. Like even if I was to talk about any of the pieces in depth, the pieces aren't. It's actually funny because it reminds me of what I was talking about with Dance Your Style, because the pieces are not long. Like no one does over, I think, like maybe 5 minutes or something. I don't think anyone did a huge long piece like that, but the pieces are not that long and they're not supposed to be something like, if you consider the audience, the people, let's say that like this, the people that considered the environment and the audience got the best reaction and did the best, in air quotes again, like what is the best? There's no such thing as the best, but like they had the best reaction, let's say, or their pieces were the most effective. So it reminds me of like Harry and Breaks' piece, for example. They did a pop-in duo and it was sick, but they were clever. I don't know how consciously they did this, but they were very clever in the way that they choreographed the piece, because it was like quite intricate, like popping, you know, good popping and stuff is like intricate, and all the combos and stuff that they had like all these like bits where they were working together, but some of it could be quite small. They had their big movements as well, but what they did, which was really cool, is they had a lot of sections where, let's say for example, they would cross each other and then perform, like switch places basically, but they didn't choreograph it in so that they were like moving across the stage like that. They just kind of almost broke the fourth wall, looked into the audience and was like nodding or like telling them to like cheer or something, and then boom, go straight back into the next thing. And I think stuff like that is cool because you're understanding that the audience are maybe intoxicated, no one in particular, but also just like they're having a good time. There's a lot of distractions. There's people at the bar, there's people talking, so it gives you a moment to digest, and it makes it easier to really get into the performances and get hyped by them because you feel included. And I think, you know, when you've got an audience sitting down quietly and paying attention, you can kind of, you don't have to hold their attention as much because that's all they're doing. They're like, it's all quiet, we have to look at the piece. Whereas Dancers Delight, it's like, you got to really grab people's attention. So the pieces that did that and had the energy and the dance and the, you know, these moments in between, or these crowd interactions, it's almost like, yeah, like putting on a concert or something. It feels more like that type of environment. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. It's like similar to Dance Your Style about the crowd work and the performance aspect, and you see who that in Dance Your Style you saw who could freestyle and interact with the audience like that, but with Dancers Delight you saw who could choreograph these things into their pieces, whether or not they did it subconsciously. You just saw it have effect, I think. I think Dancers Delight is kind of like it's almost like the dance scenes like end of year show or something, you know, like where it's like, here's all the stuff we've been working on, let's show each other, you know. It's not necessarily like, you know, there's probably people there that aren't really dancers, but it's more like for us, it's a community event rather than like for the public, you know. And I mean, I don't know what the intention is, but that's how it feels. So it's more like we're kind of showing each other what's going on and that sort of stuff. Slightly younger demographic maybe than some of the stuff you might see in like the theater or whatever, but it's super cool. I think, yeah, like, I don't know, it's easy to, again, like I said, if you go in the with the wrong energy and the wrong expectations, you could be like, yeah, I don't like this event, it's too loud or something like that. And I'm also like the type of person to do that in the past, is like to go with the wrong expectations and expect something that I want to see, but it's not what the event is giving, you know. So yeah, I just think if you go there and know what you're going there to see and you embrace that, like I did, grab a few drinks and chill, then you know you're gonna have a good time. I think it's cool. I think it's nice to, I don't know, everyone in there was happy, man. Like, I just had a moment, I was very drunk, but like I was just looking around and I was like, everybody on stage is like going mad and like seem to be enjoying themselves. Everyone in the audience is like cheering and like with their friends and screaming and happy, and they're recognizing their friends. I don't know, I was just like, ah, like, it's cool. Like, everybody's happy and enjoying themselves. Why the fuck not, you know? And it was packed in there. It wasn't like it was empty or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, if everybody who participates enjoys it, that's kind of a successful event, you know. What else can I say, really? So anyway, definitely drank a little bit too much, but it's all good. Grown up and should know better by now, but it's all good. Then on Saturday there was an event called The Bridge, which was put on by Kate Scanlon's company Scanners Inc. It was in Leek Street Tunnels, which is the graffiti tunnel in Waterloo. And yeah, it was a really good event from 11 to 7 p.m. And it was basically like a few workshops and stuff. And there was a break-in cipher battle, not a battle really, but it was like a cipher thing. And the best person in the cipher got a prize. And then at the end, it was just like 4 DJs in a row for the last 4 hours of partying. It was actually really cool. A lot of like people there. Like, at first there wasn't that many people there, and then as the day went on, more and more people came. It ended up packed at one point, like maybe at like 5-ish. It was like there was a lot of people there, and everybody was dancing. Like, there was like random passers by. There was like some random drunk people, some kids, some dancers, but like everybody's just dancing together and having a great time. So it was actually really cool. Like, yeah, I was surprised. Like, I hadn't been to one before, but yeah, it was a really cool event. I really enjoyed it, and I think a lot more people would have enjoyed it if they had, like, a few people like, oh, that looks really cool, because I posted a Insta story on the capsule, and a few people messaged me like, oh, what was that event? That looks sick. And I was like, oh yeah, like, you should have come, but so maybe they missed it. I think it wasn't announced super far ahead of time, so maybe people didn't know about it. But definitely check out Scanners Inc. Page, because I guess next year they'll do another one. Yeah, really cool. I like this idea of like these street party type things, and because it was under the tunnel, it wasn't really cold or anything. DJs were sick, so it was just a nice party. Like, I forgot that you could dance to music that wasn't like copyright free beats by battle beat makers. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is like actually real music that like I don't know, old R&B that is like being in a club again. And I was like, oh yeah, like, I like these songs. These are real songs. So yeah, it's just nice. I definitely recommend people come and check it out next time. I was gonna say that one, it didn't have a bar, and that could have maybe added an element to it, like if there was drinks there. But also, I drank enough the night before that I wouldn't have drank anyway. But yeah, I just think it's nice to have a party sometimes, you know, not all the time battle, but not all the time party. You need a balance. Anyway, yeah, shout out to Kate Scanlon and Scanners Inc. Great event. Cool. So last bits, bit of news from the capsule. We launched a online calendar. So this calendar will live, you can find it on the link in our bio, on the link tree, and it's hopefully going to be a place where everybody can go and see all the events that are coming up as far into the future as possible. I'm going to update the calendar as much as possible. There's also a space on there for you to submit your events. So if you have one coming up that I don't know about, please submit it. If you know somebody that's running an event, please submit it. I'm going to try and look for events, but I can't always, find everything, and I rely on people to share them with me. And the thing with the calendar is like, I'll keep it updated, but if people don't submit it and don't tell me about the events, not that it can't happen, because I'll still do my job, but it will make it a lot better the more stuff is on there. Because if it's like, oh, you can get some of the events on the Capsules calendar, but for the other stuff, you've got to go and look at this Facebook group, or this. It's like, it needs to be everything. So then you just know if anyone's like, oh, what can I do this weekend? Go check the Capsule. Like, you don't need to check anywhere else. It's going to be there. Not because I want anyone to only go on this platform, but it's like, I think we need this kind of thing in the dance scene to have one place where you can go and check what's happening. So I'm going to do my best to make that happen and to keep it consistent. But yeah, please submit your stuff. Please submit it by the link in my bio. Don't DM me the event details, because I need to copy and paste them and put them, and I need them in the emails for records. So please do it like that. And please check the calendar to see what events are coming up and let me know if you're using it and if it's helpful. Another thing is, someone asked me like, oh, what could they do to help the Capsule, which is a super sweet thing to ask. I've got a lot of it covered because it's my job to do this. I'm not one of those people that's going to be like, everybody help me and support me. No, I'll build this, and if it's good, you'll engage with it. If it's not good, you won't engage with it, and that's fine. That's my job to fix. But if there's something you want to do to help, what would be helpful is to help me to gather information and content. So if you're at a battle and somebody wins and you don't see me there or anyone else that you think might be representing the Capsule, it would be great if you send us a DM and just say, this person just won at this battle, and send a link to their Instagram and the battle's Instagram. That would be a huge help. And on top of that, if anyone wants to send any footage, like, hey, like, what would be amazing is, this person just won a battle in Scotland or wherever, and this is the name of the battle, this is the name of the person, and here's a clip of them in the finals. Because I can't be everywhere. So if events want to bring me to the event to cover them and post on the Capsule and collect footage and take pictures, I would love to. So if you're out there and you know someone that runs an event, or you run an event, please let them know that I would always be happy to travel for the event. And if they want to bring me there so I can cover it, and obviously they'll get material from that as well. But if I can't be there and you can send me info or footage, that would be amazing. And we would love to be able to, have people to supply us with stuff to keep the Capsule relevant and ticking over. But again, like I said, that's not a necessity. We will survive without that. So don't stress if you're at an event. Please enjoy yourselves and don't worry about working for me at an event. But yeah, those sort of things do help and do go a long way, especially as I'm not building this on behalf of a company that's funding me. I'm not raking it in doing this. I'm just kind of trying to build something long term for the future. So the more you can help, the better. Anyway, I think that's everything. Check out the capsule.ldn. Check out the calendar, which is in the link in our bio. Check out the YouTube. The Silk Boogies podcast came out this week, and before that was J Funk. So please go check them out if you have any interest in those guys. They're lovely lads. And there's a few more cool ones coming up before Christmas, so I'm excited to get those out. This will be, of course, back next Tuesday. Hope everyone has a good week. Just last thing, the WDSF qualifier is this weekend. That's on the Capsule calendar. So I'll see everyone there on Sunday. Breaking GB putting on their first event on the road to the Olympics. So shout out to Breaking GB, and thanks for everyone for listening, and catch you next week. Peace.